Hi, Mo.
Hey,
So I just wanted to talk to you first about your music. At the beginning of your music career, I remember having your first album, and on the intro, you were talking about, when you were 5 and you were singing, and everyone was telling you you were going to be a star. So, like, when did you
mhm.
first realize you wanted a career in music?
I would say, yeah, when I led my first song in church, it was an overwhelming feeling as far as I can remember just being young, and I cried the whole song actually, and just the applause that I got for just initially trying, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Hmm.
Time goes on, you grow up, and then you're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. I
Yeah.
want to jump out of an airplane. But I believe I was in a talent show or something one time, and I wound up singing a gospel song. But every time I was singing, just the overwhelming and the rounds of applause I would get, I was just like, yeah, I can do this. And I'm going to show off anyway. So I said, hey, might as well be a superstar. Pays the best. He ain't
Yeah.
got to go to college. Hey.
Cool, cool. So, you were eventually discovered by Missy and, signed to her label and all that. How did she, discover you? How did you guys meet and all that?
Well, before her, there was John B. He's my uncle, and he's a gospel artist. So that was where I initially went on the road with.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it would be like 17 years ago to this date. That's who actually took me under their wing first, and then I signed to Electric. So I was never signed to Missy. She
Okay.
took me on tour first. She actually took me like right before I was signed. So she took me under her wing, and then after that, we just remained cool. I actually spoke to her this morning. I was just like, yo, can you believe like we still in the music business? Can you believe we still doing this? And I have 3 kids now and stuff like that. So just being under her tutelage was a great thing because that doesn't naturally happen in the industry. People don't take you under their wing anymore unless you are signed to them. They don't even want to deal with you. It's just like because it's a loyalty there. You don't want to spend money, time, or energy or all the above, and then the person winds up saying, well, I'm gonna just go ahead on and just try another situation. And after you've invested so much interest in them, nobody wants to let go of their product.
Hmm.
But she's just always been like my big sister from day one. That's what I've considered her to be family.
Yeah.
And, just being around when I first got the call, I was like, Missy didn't tell me to call. That's when beepers were out, believe
Yeah.
it or not. This big, cordless phone looking cell phone. So I didn't even have one. I had a beeper and I called her from a payphone.
Hmm.
So just to see the evolution of technology, this is like history.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So, even before you did your debut album, you were featured on a lot of songs, did a lot of collaborations, and you continue to do
Yeah.
collaborations all through your career. I was wondering if you had a favorite collaboration that stood out or, one that immediately comes to mind that you remember the most.
One that I would say really comes to mind that stood out, that was my favorite, it probably would be High Point because that's when I really got to
Hmm.
reflect my personality and then put it on me. Because then I realized I really got to do me on those songs. And those were outside collaborations that they chose me. I didn't have to choose them. So
Okay.
anytime I featured on anything that I got the call for, there's no in particular order of which one was the greatest because everything I featured on wound up doing exceptionally well. And then that's when I ventured off and started doing my own stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is really cool.
Hmm.
So between anything I've been on, I actually love because I've never repeated myself. I've always, I think ascended with everything I did. Like, oh, you know, I always like to put it on me and super woman and forever. Everything just like kept on climbing and climbing, and all the things that were in between. There were things I did on songs that were just like I thought was so minuscule that people were like, oh my God, you killed it. The end of White Tea by Next.
Yeah.
Will you be my wife?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be your wife. When I did it, people thought it was so crazy. And I was like, it literally took me like 15 seconds. I did it because I was like, yo, come here, just do this part. If the label cleared, we'll go. If not, we'll just take it off. So I was
Hmm.
like, things I did as a joke wound up changing people's lives. So here I guess I'm a comedian and a singer all in one.
Yeah. Very cool.
You?
So, what do you remember most about recording your debut album based on a true story?
Wow, what do I remember most? I remember just going in the studio and I just wanted everyone to know that purchased the album or by the sound of my voice to know that I could really sing. I'm not a person, I'm not cocky, I'm not staunch, I'm not stuck up, but I know when I do stuff, I do it well. At first I had planned on being a rapper, but I was like, I don't really want to be a rapper because I just always felt that once your time is up with rapping, the rapping, it doesn't repeat itself. It kind of like goes in cycles. Once a sound is old, they were tired of it. You know, remember when everybody was rapping mad fast and they were breaking it up and everybody does the onomatopoeia style rapping? So I realized I didn't feel like keeping up with everybody, and once you pass a certain age, nobody cares. But with singing, that's timeless. And
Exactly.
with me growing up in the church as well as doing R&B, and I did do country and western, anything I set my mind to, I can do. And with singing, I just felt that, you know, the first album was the best place to lay the standard and the platform for, you know, this girl can really sing. And my main goal was to set up that I'm a girl from the church, but trust I can rock with the street. And I think I set that standard. That's why they say, oh, there's so many people that, you know, try to break this out or even, you know, came out so more records. I mean, I don't care because at the end of the day, cast me, I'm like, and I played them all. I put that on my mom and them.
Yeah. All right, very good point of view. I like that. You know, someone you've collaborated, you know, many times. He was on all your albums. You were on a bunch of his albums. Is Fabulous. You know, what's your guys' working relationship like? You know, how do you guys, you know, work so well together? Tell me about that.
Well, in the past, we worked together because I always thought it was a Scorpio thing, and the fact that we consider ourselves brothers and sisters. His birthday is November 18th, mine's November 19th. So I was just like, oh my God, this is destiny. I used to be so hyped about, you know, chemistry. So, you know, over time, people change, seasons change, things change. So I'll just leave me and his collaboration in the past because as for the new album, only those who remain in my circle and who I really genuinely feel can go with me to this next mental, physical, emotional, social, and singing level.
Yeah.
On a musical level, I'm going. There's some that won't be around. Sorry.
Okay. You know, as someone who has an amazing voice, very talented singer, through all your years in the industry, can you touch on, you know, the politics and things that have prevented you from, you know, reaching the success you felt maybe you deserved?
Well, there's no such thing as when you reach your goal and you reach higher once you know, you ever heard of the study they did where they put a grasshopper in a box and they put a lid on it and the grasshopper can only jump as high as once they set the limit.
Yeah.
You know, even when they remove the lid, it only jumps, it wouldn't jump out of the box. See, I've always been out of the box, so there weren't any limits for me. So every time I put out an album, I would say it get better and better and better. What I would say is, there's still room for me to sell 10 million records, so I don't want to beat myself in my own game. If you ever notice that I consider a lot of artists pivot backwards. From the outside looking at it, it's like, oh, this person sold 10 million records, that means they're great. So I'm like, no, that means they recouped.
Yeah.
And now there's so much more to do, so I'm trying to beat that. One of the greatest artists I've ever worked with would be, I call him Booty. A Booty is a blowfish, but I did a record with him, and we sat in and talked, and I said, yo, like, y'all sold 33 million records over your career. That like supposed to be really amazing. He was like, yeah, but the label considered us a flop. I said, what? How could you say that? He was saying, because when they first came out, they sold like 10 million. Second album sold 8 million. Then after that, 5 million, 2 million. So once you reach the top of what they consider the height of your success and you don't do that again, that's when you consider like, oh, you lost it, and you really don't. So as an artist, you know, going from selling 600,000 singles to 400,000 albums to another 300,000 albums, like I said, well, I think I'm on a roll, so I have no choice but to reach for that 1 million, like for that mark, in a whole, not all collectively, because a lot of people, they be adding all their numbers together, and like, yeah, so tell me, I'm like, stop lying, because y'all added y'all single down, lowest mom and pop, and the ones y'all strictly put on a different barcode. See, I know the secrets of the system, I just don't fall for them, because I know a lot comes with that.
Yeah.
So the success that I've actually set out for is just for everybody not to think. I've already reached that, so ain't nothing else to do but to try to please people, which I'm not in the business of. I'm in the business of healing people through my lyrics.
Yeah. Okay. Very fair.
So I've accomplished that.
Definitely. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about what you're currently your radio show and all that. And you know, I was reading that you actually had a radio show back in 2000. You know, that's where you got your start in radio. How did that opportunity originally come about?
Well, in 2000 up until 2002, I was filling in for Andrew Martinez, Funkmaster Flex, Doug Banks, Russ Parr. I filled in for Steve Harvey at times, like a lot of people. I had filled in one day just as a radio interview, and people were like, yo, when we go on vacation, you know, you don't want to just leave your show in the hands of anybody. So I guess they say, yo, you really sound good on radio. So I was like, okay, I mean, I'll try it. I used to watch Martin a lot, so I thought, well, if he could do it, and I laughed and everybody else laughed, why not try it? So I just learned to pull off my comedic side. That's really my talkative and my more, not personal side, but that's my interpersonal side, how I communicate with others.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, I could do this. When I was pregnant with my first child, that's when I had the opportunity to take a break from touring and stuff like that. And there was a new station that was forming in Baltimore because I had moved from New York and came out here. I said, hey, I'll try it. They were like, are you serious? I said, dead serious. They gave me a shot. I had a #1 show. And then after that, I had to take a break because then that's when I did my second album, We Could Go Next Door, and I had to go back and promote. I had to take a break from radio, but since then, hey, you want to get back to radio? Got a job for you. I always knew that once you open that side of the business, which a lot of people can't get in, once I tapped into that, I knew I had struck gold because the endorsements, the things that come along with it, the people you reach, I'm reaching millions and millions, and now that you can listen on the internet, you can't even keep count of the people that you can reach.
Yeah.
So just think, those are the people that didn't know that I sang or were coming back out with an album. Now they have no choice but to know me. I'm going to be in your ear some type of way, singing, talking, Twittering, some type of way. So I came back with the Lil Mo show, and I said, what better way than to reintroduce myself, than by, spoon-feeding people, get used to me again. So sometimes on my show I might sing, or you may hear some songs that I'm on, or we may throw it back in the day, and now we're moving up to the part where I'm getting into new music. So I'm really resurfacing, but I'm not taking baby steps. I don't like pushing or forcing myself on people that might not remember, or the people that are diehard fans. Also, the new recycled people that are becoming like, ooh, I thought she had that. They're like, no, baby, I'm here, and I'm actually in the best shape, the greatest look, and the swaggest of ever. So this is basically the best of me that you'll get in 2011.
Cool. So, with your radio show, having a family, having kids, how do you remain motivated and have the time to keep doing music as well?
My kids keep me going. Because the stuff that they ask me just really cracks me up. Stuff like, so mommy, you really famous? Like, stuff that they say, so I'll be famous like you? Or just like, I was to see on the radio, or I'll go pick up my kids from school, and then when the principal comes out, and people just go like, oh, we heard you're famous, and I'm in there looking crazy, like dressed down, and I'm just like, well, I'm really shy and introverted in person, but you would never know that through the radio, through the song, or when I'm on stage. So I actually get to turn into a character. So the way I balance it all is I realize that there is a big difference between mommy and Lil Mo. But at the same time, my kids think it's so cool that their mom is Lil Mo. So it's like the greatest. Anybody that can do it, like, applause and hats off to you. But you do have to know when to turn that light off and when to be the parent as well as when to be, the personality.
Okay. The other family I want to ask you about is your Twitter family, because I know you're very active on there. You almost keep like a family on there. You're very interactive with your fans and all of that, and it's pretty cool to see, know. And how's that whole experience been? How do you enjoy that part of things?
I would like it. I remember a couple of years back, Electro, when I was signed to them, now they're closed, but they had us doing interactive stuff when the internet was really popping. So 10 years ago, it just seems like, wow, time has really flown. When we were just doing, ringtones, like, pick up your phone, I was just like, wow, we consider that interactivity. Now people that grew up or around and on your music, and even then, you're like, I remember you listening to you going to elementary school. You're like, good Lord, I'm not that old. I mean, at least I don't look like it. But you just learn how to. I've always been one to know how to deal with people because I would consider myself a chameleon. With my dad being ex-military, I've lived in Texas, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, North Carolina. I've been all around the world, and I've done all that at a young age, so I learned how to deal with different people. So that's the reason why I'm interactive so much with Twitter. A lot of people say, well, we commend you and we applaud you for interacting with your fans, but then there are times people say, well, if you're supposed to be so famous, why are you supposed to be your fans so much? And then those are people I say, oh, shut up, you just want the right person. So I give everybody a fair chance to say what they want to say. I'm really to the point now because I used to give people so much time because I'm a professional speed typer, so a lot of people are like, yo, you tweet all that. I said, really, I'm not tweeting all that. I just type so fast, it just seems like I'm on here all day. And then it's just sometimes that I'm just chilling or I'm I'll be in the booth tweeting and singing, and nobody will be like, wait a minute. So my husband said, can you please put your phone down? I can hear you texting while you're singing. I can multitask. So why not take from that energy, whether good or bad, and translate it into passion through a song, or while I'm sitting up here paying for something at the grocery store, I'm sitting up here tweeting, and oh, that'll be $99.99. Like a lot of people don't know half the time when I'm doing it. So if you can put like a Big Brother satellite over my life, you'll see I'm not just sitting in bed eating bonbons tweeting. I'm really actually doing things, or being interactive. But I think that's what keeps me young. That's what keeps me focused, and that's what keeps me up in the know of what's the new lingo that's out, what's going on. Because one thing you don't want to be is behind the times, and a lot of these artists, they're afraid of, of people finding out who they really are. But I'm an open book. You know, if there's any figures about me, chances are I told you. So that's the reason why I didn't write down no mess on me, because, here I am, hear me roar. So I love it. It's fun to me.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's real cool that you take the time like that to interact, and, that's cool. But I have a next question is from, one of my readers on my site. She's a big fan of yours. She wants to know, in this crazy industry, with so much stuff that can get you off course, how do you keep your life dedicated to religion like you do?
Well, both of my parents are preachers. My dad's a bishop, believe it or not, and he's an apostolic holiness bishop, which is one of the, I would say, strictest denominations left. Those are no pants. But we're kind of like the radicals. We went pants, and I'm like hip-hop and R&B. So it's like, wow, I really broke the mold. But when you realize that your relationship with God is the only one that you need to be concerned about, nobody has anything to do with that. You just kind of get over it. And my mom is an evangelist, and she's a school teacher. So with that, our interactivity and dealing with people and things that she's taught me along the way, just the way they deal with their I would say the saints in the church, the way they deal with it, the way she deals with the people at school and the parents and stuff, that's what keeps me grounded and keeps me humble, because, if I really wanted to, I can shut my life out from everybody. But that's boring. When you become a product of that environment, that's the reason why a lot of people are on really bad drugs and really, like, losing their mind, or really, suicidal. Just look at half the celebrities that really don't interact. Like, you will lose your mind. They're lonely.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me, grounded in my religion. Because I'm just like, who wants to live holed up in their house? Who wants to get to that point? I would never want to be that way. Even if one of the most, I would say, these couples that are here now, I would say like Jay-Z, Beyonce, President Obama, and his wife, like, they don't be even stuck in the house. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
They're behind their security and stuff, but, they just live life, and you have to live life. And so that's what keeps me, really intact with my religion, because God don't want me stuck in the house. I got to get this word out.
Yeah. Okay. Now tell me about your upcoming album, Tattoos and Roses. When can we expect that? What can we expect to hear on there?
Well, you're the first one that's finding this out, but we actually changed the title just for a couple of reasons. We're going to keep Tattoos and Roses for the next album, for this album. We're tossing it up between two titles, but I think I'm going to change the title to My Pain versus Your Entertainment.
Okay.
Still with the Tattoos and Roses theme, but I think, we're going to stick with that one, because the Pain and Paper, that was the mixed CD that came out on Koch. With that, I really we sold like 50,000 copies. We priced up 50,000 copies, so every copy, they're still available for downloads, I believe. I don't even have a copy, which makes me feel some type of way, because I'm like, it's my own album.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I'm just like, that really matters. I can see the light again. A lot of people that do have it were like, that was a great album. Like, what happened? And I'm just like, when you do an independent CD, if you don't have, major team behind you, you're just doing everything yourself, you can only do expect to sell, which basically what you put out. So, we just decided to take it back to the grassroots. I really have to be on the scene. I have to be able to reach my fans. They have to be able to feel me. But the best way you feel me is through my pain. So I decided to go with My Pain versus Your Entertainment. And it's almost like, how much more hurt can I get? Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
So we just going to go ahead with that. And Tattoos and Roses will just be the theme, but not the title.
Okay, cool. One last question for you: do you have any plans at any point to release a gospel album?
I believe I will, but you wanna know what's crazy? Is a lot of my gospel friends was like, don't do it. And it's not so much to say, don't do a gospel album in reverence to my relationship with God, but just the gospel music industry as a whole. It's like basically to a point, even gospel artists don't want to be gospel artists. The industry is so political and so cutthroat and so shady and so much going on. So many people I know, I won't name them, but they're like, yeah, I don't even want to be an artist anymore. And I'm like, how did you say that? Like, you're scared with that. I'm supposed to be coming out with an album and you don't want to do this. Well, why should I want to do this then? But I think I may do a contemporary album so that I won't totally abandon, excuse me, my hip hop audience, which would be my secular audience, just so I can keep it safe, so I don't abandon one trying to move over to another. I'll just basically do a contemporary. What's one of those words? Well, it's not like a traditional album, just good singing all over the place with some good gospel artists and some secular artists. There's some secular artists that will tear the house down.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just tell all my fans, like, thank you for waiting so long for me. I promise you that it is worth the wait. I'm in the best place in my life, which will be a better way for people to actually be able to deal with me, because I know I'm a bit much. I personally know that. I know a lot of people can't handle me. You have to be able to handle me to understand me.
Yeah.
So for that being said, just get ready.
Yeah.
If you ain't ready, then this last train's gonna pull out some paddles. Hello.